Good evening. Welcome on behalf of the Door County League of Women Voters. We thank you for taking the time to come and hear the candidates seeking to represent District 5 on the Sturgeon Bay City Council. I'm Ann Schmakel. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Door County and tonight's moderator. Let me introduce the candidates running to become the District 5 representative on the City Council. Gary Nault and Heather Weasler. The League thanks both candidates for agreeing to participate in this forum. In a few minutes, they will introduce themselves. We also want to thank the City of Sturgeon Bay for hosting this forum. Door County, along with the lands our facilities and parks are located on, are the ancestral homes of the Menominee Nation. Currently, there are 11 federally recognized Native American sovereign nations in Wisconsin. We acknowledge these indigenous communities who have stewarded this land throughout the generations and pay respect to their elders, past and present. The forum is not an endorsement of any candidate. The views expressed are solely those of the candidates and not the League of Women Voters of Door County. Candidate forums are one of the Door County League's mission to inform voters about candidates and elections in a civil, unbiased, and nonpartisan manner. The League of Women Voters is nonpartisan and never supports or opposes any political party or candidate. However, we are also a political organization dedicated to encouraging and promoting good government through informed, active participation at all levels of our democracy, local, state, and national. More information about the League can be found on the display table outside the chamber or by visiting our website at lwvdoorcounty.org. Tonight's forum is being recorded and will be posted as soon as possible on the League of Women Voters Door County website, lwvdoorcounty.org, and on the Sturgeon Bay Public Access Channel 988. We encourage you, candidates and the public, to spread the word. Forums consist of your anonymous written questions and candidates' responses. On these question cards, we encourage you to ask questions about topics of concern. Questions must be relevant to the position of Sturgeon Bay Council member and to both candidates. A question posed to only one candidate will not be used. Please use a separate card for each question you ask. As you finish writing your question, raise your card and a runner will pick them up. Questions must be worded in a way that is unbiased and concise. Our question screeners will select questions covering a variety of issues. League screeners will review questions to eliminate redundancies and improper questions. If the screeners do not understand the question, it will not be asked. If used, questions will be asked as they are written. A copy of all submitted questions will be sent to the candidates after the forum so they can see the range of issues you've raised. Finally, the League of Women Voters of Door County prides itself on organizing and moderating forums that are fair and nonpartisan. We expect, and have never been disappointed, that candidates and the public will conduct themselves in a civil manner. We know that code of conduct will be upheld here tonight. No flash cameras, video cameras, or other visual or sounding recording devices are allowed to be used during the forum, except by the press, media, and forum sponsor. A reminder to the candidates, you may not use any audio or video from the forum in or for personal or commercial advertising or promotion. Because this is a forum and not a debate, the candidates may only speak about and for themselves, their positions and ideas, and not reference each other. We ask the audience not to respond to the candidates' answers. There should be no comments, cheering, jeering, clapping, or any other form of demonstration. The candidates have agreed to the following guidelines. Candidates will introduce themselves in 2 minutes, opening statements. Each candidate will then be given up to 2 minutes to answer each question. Each question will be posed to both candidates. However, a candidate may decline to answer any question. Each candidate will then have up to 2 minutes for a closing statement. The first speaker was determined by lot. The order of speaking will then be alternated. Candidates, please note timekeepers will signal when you have 30 seconds remaining in your response, and again when it is time to stop. We ask that you conclude your thought and stop when signaled. We will ask questions until approximately 7:45 or until we run out of questions. Candidates will then make their closing remarks. We will now hear opening statements from the candidates, beginning with Heather Weasler.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So why am I doing this? That's probably what you're all thinking. It comes from a place of love. My father was born here in 1945. My great-grandparents from Sweden built cottages here in the 30s actually. And our family eventually did have a home here on Bayshore Drive, a small little house. And all of my happiest memories of my entire life have been here. And my dad's passed away recently, but I'm here to show him how important those memories were to me and to my family, and to create a community, which I've started doing with the little restaurant I have. It's growing and it's getting lovelier every day, and I want to expand that to my neighborhood now. And then who knows what after that. So thank you. And I also want to thank you all for being here, and thank you to Gary for your service.
Mr. Nault.
Okay, I'm Gary Nault. I'm running for my 4th two-year term as Alderman of District 5. I have lived in Sturgeon Bay's west side all but 4 years of my life, and District 5 for 49 of those. I grew up on the west side, went to kindergarten at West Side School and grade school at Corpus Christi School. If you got the Press Gazette in District 5, I probably delivered them. Ran a Sinclair service station for 3 years at Madison and Redwood, have promoted the great quality of our fishing natural resource we have, and ran a fishing guide business for almost 40 years. I've been very active in Sturgeon Bay as Harbor Commission member and chairman for over 20 years, helped design the Sawyer Park launch site and pavilion. My career of 31 years with the fire department had me stationed at the west side. I raised my kids here on the west side and have family, friends, and neighbors there. So you can see my heart and dedication is with District 5. I have sat in this chair for the past 6 years and would like to continue the progress this present council has done for Sturgeon Bay. As a group, we have accomplished a lot: housing, roadway improvements, park and shoreline improvements, increased development in commercial and industrial buildings. My 6 years on the city council have given me the experience, and my length of time living in the district helps me know what is needed to improve District 5. An example of that is Otumba Park. Its improvements of the beach and playground. It's our city's most used park, and very glad to have been on that committee. Our present council is the most progressive and dedicated I have ever seen in all my years of living here and working with other councils. It's got great people who want to work together and guided by a great mayor. I would like to continue to make that commitment to Sturgeon Bay. I would also like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum.
All right, we'll now have our first question, and that goes to candidate Nault. The train depot is currently being considered for local designation by the city's Historic Preservation Commission. Do you support that designation? And do you believe historic preservation is important to our city?
Okay, could you repeat that once?
Sure. The train depot is currently being considered for local designation by the city's Historic Preservation Commission. Do you support that designation? And do you believe historic preservation is important to our city?
I would support that. That is a very iconic building in our city, and it has to do with the railroad. I think it should be preserved. And the way I understand it, it has to be moved, and I think there's some progress going on that. There's been some dialogue on that with the city, so I guess I would have to say yes, I support that.
Okay. Candidate Weasler, The train depot is currently being considered for local designation by the city's Historic Preservation Commission. Do you support that designation, and do you believe historic preservation is important to our city?
1,000%. I'm preserving 2 historical buildings right now, and I have a big idea for the depot myself, actually. So I don't know if it's time to talk about that yet, but I'm very excited about the depot, actually. I think it's a wonderful building and definitely should be preserved.
Okay, our next question will go to candidate Weasler first. You both are business owners in Sturgeon Bay. What insight has this given you about our community?
A lot. When you're a bartender, you hear a lot of things. And you meet a lot of people, and I don't think anybody is disgruntled or anything like that. I haven't felt that from my customers and from my neighbors. I feel like everyone loves it here, and that's what we all have in common, and that's what I like to focus on is our similarities and our love for this town. I do see that I've heard from some people that we've been promised by certain organizations, we've been promised things that have not come to fruition, specifically with Bay Ship and the beautification project, and I want to encourage those ideas. That's part of the comprehensive plan that we can, we work towards beautifying our city more and more.
Candidate Nault, you both are business owners in Sturgeon Bay. What insight has this given you about our community?
Well, the business that I ran originally was a service station, and I serviced a lot of the vehicles of the people that lived in that district. But my present one is a fishing guide, and with that I have promoted Sturgeon Bay both locally and at many sports shows about the great fishery we have here and the great people that are around it. So as a business owner, I'm very proud to have had it in Sturgeon Bay.
Thank you. We'll begin with you, Mr. Nault, on the third question. What did you do to prepare for this forum? Who did you speak with? Businesses, neighbors, working class individuals?
Actually, all of those. I did a lot of research, and a lot of it comes from sitting on this council for 6 years. I have information on housing and the things that we've done for that, and affordable housing, and I hope those questions come up. But preparing-wise, I've talked to my neighbors, family, and I have talked to some business owners, and all my neighbors and the people that have supported me in the past and are still supporting me. Thank you.
Candidate Weasler, what did you do to prepare for this forum?
I've been drinking a lot of coffee.
Who did you speak with? Businesses?
I spoke with businesses, I spoke with neighbors, I spoke with customers, I spoke with city council members, and past and present. And I have a meeting with the mayor on Tuesday. I read over the comprehensive plan. So, yeah, I've been researching a little bit.
All right, for our fourth question, we will start with candidate Weasler. Not sure what that says. In regard to resident input, it seems residents have disengaged from input. What steps would you take to improve their engagement?
I'm so happy you're asking this question because it's one of the things I'm running on. Last year I tried to engage. So I'm from in Madison. I was in a neighborhood association, and we have each neighborhood would have their own little block party, and sometimes they would even do fundraisers and festivals and brought the neighbors together. I feel like each alderperson. Well, I tried to do that at Drumhoos last year, where each alderperson was, and they would show up. Gary was there. To meet their constituents, but it just kind of was a flop. People didn't come, and so I was like, well, there's definitely a little disconnect And I think the one way to do it is like, maybe we should have some fun. I mean, maybe we should have district-specific block parties, you know, in our wonderful Ottumba Park. And I would think that we could have a little fun here. And that would maybe engage people a little more. I would be happy to host a party at Ottumba for my neighbors, absolutely.
To repeat, candidate Nault, it seems residents have disengaged from input. What steps would you take to improve engagement?
I think those steps started about 6 years ago with the present council that we have now. It's very respectful at these chambers. They're very courteous and welcome people to come and talk at council level. The other suggestion is that many of the decisions that are made are done at committee level. And if people want to engage, committee level is actually the place to do it. Come to committee meeting. And there is a full schedule always on the city's website. And again, this room now is probably one of the most courteous and respectful of people coming here with their suggestions, questions, and comments. And we're always willing to listen. So that really, as government-wise, I think we are probably the strongest at having welcoming people to come here and, you know, give their comments and suggestions.
Thank you. Our next question will begin with candidate Nault. How will you learn what district residents think on major or controversial city issues?
Well, most of the people in my district, you know, I either know them or friends with them or actually neighbors and family. So it's pretty easy for me to get comments. I'm pretty much around the district a lot, so people are constantly calling me and seeing me wherever we are. And it's pretty easy to get those comments. And one of the things that I did when I came here was not to be a politician, but to be a representative and listen to those comments. And I feel in the last 6 years I've done that. I brought a lot of those comments to council and other committees. So listening is the big thing. You know, we're representative. We're not giving our own decisions, but the ones that the people in our committee and our districts want. So.
Thank you. Candidate Weasler, how will you learn what district residents think on major or controversial city issues?
Well, I would, first of all, I have a Facebook page, and I would put out surveys. I would share what we're talking about in council. I would encourage dialogue there, because I feel like a lot of people are there. And I would also hold office hours, perhaps at our local businesses, Lawless Coffee. I would sit on a Tuesday and be there if you wanted to discuss things. My phone number is public. Anybody could call me anytime, and they always do. But I would encourage engagement, and I would meet anybody anywhere to talk about what their concerns are.
Thank you. Our next question will begin with candidate Weasler. What do you think are the priorities for District 5 and the city in general?
Well, I think the city, so the comprehensive plan that I've been reviewing is about 5 years old. District 5, I think, is thriving, and there's a buzz about it, and I'm very excited. The waterfront and the granaries there now, and we could really make it a beautiful, beautiful place, and a place where people come to just see District 5, because it's a really lovely part of town. The whole city is wonderful, but as I said I said before, I believe we could do a little bit more to make it like the comprehensive plan has said, is, to beautify it a little bit. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Candidate Nault, what do you think are the priorities for District 5 and the city in general?
Well, the number one is the West Side waterfront, and to get some taxable property on there, and we do have one that's coming along by a St. Louis property business, and they're going to put a 54-unit, 4-story hotel or apartment there, and that we will probably see groundbreaking about midsummer or so. Housing has been a big thing, and not only in District 5, but the whole city. In the past 30 months, we've put up 320 units, those being apartments and single-family homes. And you would almost think with that many that we have enough. But I have a lady in my district who is struggling to take care of her house, and she wants to get into an apartment, and she can only get on a waiting list. So more housing is more important. And I think those are probably the two biggest things. But the other thing is that the city continues to give the services that we are giving and but do that within our tax budget. And so far, for the last 6 years, we have certainly done that.
Thank you. The next question will start with candidate Nault. Kind of adds to what you were just talking about. There's a severe lack of affordable housing in the city. Every development that has been built at the direction of the city council has a lack of truly affordable housing. How will you reverse this trajectory?
I'm glad that was asked, because we sure hear a lot of that at the council level. And there are several factors that go along with the making affordable housing. The city has done their part. The Geneva Ridge development is a workforce housing stipulation with that one member of the household has to get a paycheck from somewhere in Door County. And if that home is sold within the next 10 years, that stipulation follows that, so it continues to be workforce housing. The other thing is those are being built by a local builder. The big factor in affordable housing, in my opinion, is the cost of building. The 2x4s that were $1.94 are now about $6. Sheetrock is not $4 a sheet anymore, but more like $11. Building materials have gone up, and now we have a hurricane flooding in North Carolina, and we certainly know about the fires in Los Angeles. That supply and demand of building supplies is going to cost even more as this continues to go on. So add increased labor costs and, of course, shipping. The increase that we see as citizens in costs are certainly the same ones that builders have. The city has added incentives by creating TID districts, and that helps builders accomplish building, but we just don't have any control as a city in increased cost. The same thing that we see in prices, the contractors, investors have that same one. So WIDA credits can help that, but not everyone gets WIDA credits. We've had one that has accomplished that. We have one that's applied now, and hopefully we get that. So developers have to make enough to cover their costs and show a profit as they do. And they do the studies to see if there's necessary to have apartments here, but they still have to be able to cover their costs. So,
Candidate Weasler, there is a severe lack of affordable housing in the city. Every development that has been built at the direction of this city council has a lack of truly affordable housing. How will you reverse this trajectory?
That's one of the platforms I'm running on, is housing. I like to think outside the box, and I feel like in the comprehensive plan, they talk about having a variety of housing, and I feel like we could be using alternative buildings, we could be using alternative materials. I mean, there are other ways of building affordable housing than just the typical wood and nails that you see. You can think, I have a lot of ideas about it, and I know that, there's tiny house communities in Madison that work really well, and that would be actually affordable, because I do think that because the people in this town can't afford to live here, we have to also discuss employers being able to pay more too. So there's that part of it. But you should have housing for all income levels, and maybe we have to think outside of the box of what the house looks like and the materials used for them.
Okay, thank you. Next question will begin with candidate Weasler. What type of employer, business, or infrastructure should we focus on to provide jobs for the future?
I did do a survey on Facebook last week and to get feedback from people, and I'm hearing a lot of people say they want indoor opportunities for children. Gosh, I wish I could have got my hands on that Yonkers building because I would have loved to have made a children's museum there. So having, the sport complex might be a good idea. I think that they're talking about that. Indoor sports, people need to get their wiggles out. And if there's no snow, I think people get antsy in the winter. But developing ulterior housing too would be fantastic. People also said they'd like a more variety of restaurants, different kinds of foods, different kinds of shops, to make it a little bit more vibrant. So those are a few things.
Thank you. Candidate Nault, what type of employer, business, or infrastructure should we focus on to provide jobs for the future?
When I started 6 years ago, I was told there was 400 open jobs in our industrial park. We have a very vibrant industrial park that has a lot of openings. They were telling us at that time that there was lack of housing. They could hire people, but there was no place for them to stay. And I think over the 6-year period, we have accomplished, putting in over 400 housing units. So we've helped that a lot, and it's helped them fill some of those positions. But it looks like there's more needed, and I know that the council is going to continue. We have always been progressive on housing, and right now there's 74 more apartments coming on the west entrance to Sturgeon Bay. There's also a 79-home, single-family home subdivision starting in that same area. There's apartments going up on 12th, 14th, and 15th. So we continue to build housing that will help that. As far as businesses, again, our industrial park is a very vibrant place right now.
Thank you. This next question will begin with candidate Nault. Our city council continuously votes to give $1 million incentives to entities, sometimes very wealthy corporations, to build things here, recently a hotel. How do you feel about continuing to give these kind of incentives?
And that is a correct statement. We have given those. Those are incentives to help them build here. And the incentives that are given to them are paid off in lieu of taxes until those are paid off. In 2040, we have a lot of the TIDs that will come due, and then that will go on the tax roll. The industrial park TID just closed last year, and that will now be on our tax roll. So it looks like, we're giving a lot of money away, but we're also giving them the incentives to build, and we want people to build here. So that is why we do that. And so far, we're up to TID district number 10. Again, the industrial park one has closed, so we have 9 left, and many of them will be coming due again in 2040, and then those will all be taxable property. So it is a way to help us get those buildings made and get those people to put up their structures here.
Thank you. Candidate Weasler, our city council continuously votes to give $1 million incentives to entities, sometimes very wealthy corporations, to build things here, recently a hotel. How do you feel about continuing to give these kinds of incentives?
I don't feel very good about it. I think we need to hold the businesses accountable for the generous donations that we're giving them and make them help us beautify the city. I'm talking about Bay Ship, of course, and I think we need to make Sturgeon Bay a place that people want to come and build here without us having to pay them to do it. I feel naive asking this, but is there someone on council that knows how to write grants? I mean, is there money in some foundation somewhere we can get that, we don't have to burden our taxpayers with? That's what I was thinking of.
Thank you. This question will begin with candidate Weasler. What are 2 or 3 city committees you'd like to be on and why?
Yes, I would love to be on Parks and Rec. I look like Leslie Knope, after all, right? Guess you guys didn't see that show. Okay. No, I do. I love the idea of doing some pretty awesome things with Sunset Park, referring to the depot in that moment there. But yeah, I love our Ottumba Park is great. I want to have every district that has a really special park. And then maybe transportation. I'm a little bit curious about that. But housing too, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Nault, what are 2 or 3 city committees you'd like to be on and why?
Well, I'm certainly going to pick 2 that I'm on for sure to start with, and one of them is the Park and Rec Committee, and that is the one that kind of steers our parks. We do a 5-year plan. We're just in the process of completing that, so that we plan things 5 years out of what our parks really want to look like. You can see that kind of development on Ottumba Park. You will start to see that on Sunset Park. So there's things that are done. I'm also sit on the Utility Commission, and that's probably we definitely have the utilities here that's, as part of our city government that does things that keep our utilities costs low, and it's a very well-run operation, and glad to sit on that one. I also sit on the Industrial Park Review Committee, which approves all of the new buildings that are going in the industrial park. So I would like to continue to stay on those 3.
Thank you. This next question will begin with candidate Nault. How or what would you do if you disagreed with a motion or issue? What steps would you take to resolve it?
Well, there has been a couple that I've disagreed with, and one of the things is to bring your point, and again, many of the things that happen at council level are studied and things like that at committee level. So going to committee level is really the place to debate that, and when it comes to council, generally it's already had those decisions, but definitely I have opposed a few things and voted against them.
Thank you. Candidate Weasler, how or what would you do if you disagreed with a motion on an issue? What steps would you take to resolve?
Communication with, like Gary said, on the committee level, for sure. Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. Next question will begin with candidate Weasler. Should city government promote the use of environmentally sound practices in the public and private sectors? Please explain.
Yes. I think that every development, everything that we do we should think of what the impact of our environment would be. So whether it's, moving a sidewalk, making sure there's not going to be water runoff into somebody's yard, making sure that every single move we make has been thought of and planned for, so that it's for longevity, for cost, but also for the well-being of the planet.
Thank you. Candidate Nault, should city government promote the use of environmentally sound practices in the public and private sectors? Please explain.
Yes, I certainly feel that way. If you've noticed over the past two winters for sure, the city no longer sprays the liquid spray on our streets. The DNR has a plow more, salt less. The salinity rate of Lake Michigan is growing, and someday we may have sharks in Lake Michigan if we continue to put salt in it. Our city does not use that anymore. We have found that it really didn't work that well, and that's one of the first environmental things that we do. Our city's aquatic plant removal from the bay does that with as little bit of chemical spraying as we can. We harvest as much as we can to keep chemicals out of our bay, which is a good thing. And a lot of the things that our park department uses is not hazardous chemicals and sprays to kill weeds and things like that. They're very up to date on things like that. So, yes, I think we should continue to do that.
Thank you. Next question will begin with candidate Nault. What are your thoughts about the recent and future development of the West Side waterfront? Talk about the parking situation in the West Side Business District.
Well, when I talked about that four-story apartment building, the first floor of that, the first level is parking ground, and there's 40-some parking places which will help that. The city will build a parking lot there. It has been known that the parking is going to be rather limited there because it is a fairly small footprint. But being that there's going to be that much parking underneath this facility will help that. And that will be the first taxable building that we have there, because if you know how the TIDs work, they have to pay for themselves when they come due. And that one is going to come due, and it has not had anything paying towards it other than the lofts across the street for quite some time. So that's going to be a big help. It's a $13 million building, and it will be taxed rate at that to pay off the TID. So I think that we need one more type of structure there to complement the apartment building and yet not, crowded. I've always been really big on a seafood restaurant on the waterfront, like many of places that live on the water have. So that would be one. So we will work for that again, try and get that done. But we've got to start now. We have we hope to see groundbreaking in the midsummer time. So.
Thank you. Candidate Weasler, what are your thoughts about the recent and future development of the West Side waterfront? Talk about the parking situation in the West Side Business District.
I'm glad to hear there's going to be parking underneath or on the first floor of that building. And I'm glad to hear it'll have a small footprint. And I'm looking forward to having another business there that would raise up the value of the District 5. There'll be parking there as well, so I'm guessing there'll be enough parking for all the residents that live in the building. So it's 40, isn't it 57 units? So hopefully there'll be enough. But I feel like the waterfront is our most precious asset. We have so little of it, and Bay Ship takes up so much of it. It's Sunset Park needs to be, developed a little bit, and I would love to see a park go on the West Side waterfront too, if possible, that we can all use and enjoy the waterfront. Because I think that was what the biggest grievance was that I heard from the constituents, is that we were losing this sacred land, sacred to them.
Thank you. Next question will begin with candidate Weasler. If I go to either one of your homes from my home on Maple Street, I have 2 stop signs. There's one on Maple from the bridge to Duluth. There is the stop and go light. What would you do to enable safe crossing at all intersections?
In Madison, they have flags on the stop signs on the poles, so people can carry them when they cross the street, just to be more of a visual. That's kind of an affordable way to do it. Stop signs could be illuminated, and stronger, bolder lines on the road. I think the speed limit could be lowered a little bit too. People do go zooming down there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Candidate Nault, if I go to either one of your homes from my home on Maple Street, I have 2 stop signs. There is one on Maple from the bridge to Duluth. There's the stop and go light. What would you do to enable safe crossing at all intersections?
At the Duluth and Maple, I've had constituents who live west of that who would like to see that go back to a 4-way stop. And in checking with the state and the federal that made Duluth the way it is with sidewalks and all that, they will not allow that. It is unfortunate, but that is what they have said, that it's going to be just a stop sign going east and west. The stop and go light at Madison and Maple, if you look up, there's a big camera up there and it photos, and that has made that a much more user-friendly intersection at this time. When you pull up there now, you don't have to wait as long as you do. It seems to move traffic better, so I think that was an improvement on there with the new installation of the new stop-and-go lights, that it is now controlled by the camera. So I think that's unfortunate on the Duluth and Maple one, but I think that the one at Madison and Maple has improved to a point where it's pretty good shape right now.
Thank you. This next question will begin with candidate Nault. Where are your favorite places in Sturgeon Bay?
Well, in the business I'm in, the Sawyer Park launching ramp is probably one of my favorites. But I deal with people that come from out of town all the time, and of course, I'm very partial to the west side. It's been my home for a long time, so if you've not had a prime rib sandwich at the Greystone, shame on you. If you have not tried their onion rings, again, shame on you. And Kitty's, O'Reilly's is my next favorite spot on there. When people ask me after we get done fishing, where would you go, and I recommend those two places on the west side. So those are my favorites.
Thank you. Candidate Weasler, where are your favorite places in Sturgeon Bay?
2 minutes, right? That's all I have? Okay. Kitties, too. I really like Kitties. I'm friends with Amy and Buster. They do a great job. They're such a great addition to our community. I love a lot of West Side businesses. Get Real Cafe, Lawless Coffee. My good friend Claudia owns Artispation. I always feel love when I walk in that space. I love my restaurant. I love Waterfront Mary's. I love going there and hiking Potawatomi almost every day with my dogs. There's so many, the canal, walking the canal. I do a lot of hiking, so I like the outdoors a lot, and so I spend a lot of time out in the woods. So I really, really love, going down the canal, on the beach. Yeah, Portage Park. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This will be our last question. It will begin with candidate Weasler. If you were to obtain $1 million today, what would you use it for in betterment of the city?
Well, I'm really interested in creating more businesses, more developments, personally. Two of them, I would have to flip a coin because they're both equally important to me, but creating a better assisted living facility. I have this dream of turning the French Chateau, what is it called? Yeah, I wanted that to be at the hospice. The little abandoned school on Cherry Road, I want to turn that into a school for kids to learn practical skills, like growing their own food and taking care of animals and things like that. So I would use it as a down payment on doing some kind of a development. I also have an idea of having, taking a hotel and turning it into assisted living or senior housing, trying to think outside the box with buildings we already have and preserving the ones we already have to be used for something that we need. Children's school, something, a children's museum, and like indoor activity facilities too. So I have a lot of ideas.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Candidate Nault, if you were to obtain $1 million today, what would you use it for in betterment of the city?
And working on the council for these 6 years, $1 million doesn't go very far anymore. I could probably use a couple of million, but the Egg Harbor Road, that road has to be improved. That is a road that is very important to us. That's kind of our Gold Coast, and I'd like to see that road improved. I'm also very partial to the fire department, and I would like to see them get a new truck, but the $1 million probably won't go to cover both of them, so I'd have to flip a coin, I guess.
Thank you. Candidates, you now have up to 2 minutes each to make closing remarks. We will begin with candidate Nault.
As in any position, experience as well as knowledge of the area is very important. Have both of them with my 6 years as representative of District 5, being on many committees, and most of all, living in the district for almost 50 years. During my 6 years, I feel I've done a good job of listening to my constituents and work towards solving their problems and issues. There's much more to do, and I would like to continue bringing my experience, knowledge, and commitment to Sturgeon Bay. In the past 6 years, the council chambers has become very respectful and courteous that anyone can come and express their concerns, questions, and suggestions, and I invite citizens to do so. Being retired gives me the time to dedicate to this position, and I will put as much effort as it takes to continue to make Sturgeon Bay a great place to live, work, and enjoy all it has to offer. I again did not take this role to be a politician, but to be a representative of both my district and all of Sturgeon Bay. And I'm very, very committed to do just that. So thank you for your vote.
Candidate Weasler.
I'm a busy person, but busy people get a lot done. I'm so grateful that I have a great team at my restaurant, so I have time now to serve my community. I feel everyone should serve, wait tables, retail at Christmas, and this is just another thing that I would like to do to thank Sturgeon Bay for welcoming me into the community. I was here a long time ago, but I'm back and I'm not going anywhere. And I'm excited. I feel there's a buzz in Sturgeon Bay. The arts community is thriving, the music community is thriving, and people seem more excited. I was really excited about the program that came out. I'm very excited. I have a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and a lot of love to give, from my love for my father, love for my family, and love for my family I'm creating at the Drum House, and my neighbors. I really love my neighbors too, and one of my customers says, "Don't say love so much, they're gonna think you're a kook." But it's really what motivates me to do everything that I do. So, and I think there's nothing wrong with that, and I think we need to have more of that in government. Just thank you for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. And I would work very hard for you. I dream, and I do my dreams. And I dream to help make Sturgeon Bay more beautiful and more wonderful than it already is. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. You are invited to remain for a few minutes after the forum to give the public the opportunity to meet and visit with you personally. Thank you, audience and viewers. We hope this forum has been helpful to you as a voter. Remember, the general election is on Tuesday, April 1st. Current voter and election information can be found at myvote.wi.gov. There you can access information about voter registration, update your name or address, and learn about absentee voting, polling locations, and what's on your ballot. If you have moved, just a note, the deadline for online registration has passed. We do have registration forms available on the back table. Also, we'd like to invite you to attend the League's Lively Issues on March 25th at Right on Door County. Lively Issues is our annual open event where the public can share issues of interest and concern. Times and specifics are on the lwvdoorcounty.org. Thank you to all of you for attending and participating. Please let others know they can view this forum at our site and on the Sturgeon Bay Public Access Channel 988. Thank you, candidates. Please join me in a round of applause for our candidates.